Alright, so for those of you that bought the RunCam Thumb and were hoping for a 4K version, they actually came out with one really fast. Much faster than I expected. I wasn't expecting this for at least another few more months, but apparently there was a lot of interest in a Thumb 4K version, so they're calling this the Thumb Pro 4K, and obviously it's quite a bit larger and heavier than the original. So obviously the original Thumb is 1080p only, but it's got that same sort of design architecture. Got a little cover for the SD card slot that goes in there. And now we have a bigger plug, so instead of just 5 volts and ground, we have a 5 volts ground, an RX and a TX, and the cable that's included obviously comes with the 4 pins. And so you would wire up the RX and TX to your flight controller and do some Betaflight magic if you want to control the camera via your transmitter, turning on and off the camera, starting and stopping recording, etc. There's instructions in the manual that will outline how to do that. I think I made a video like a long time ago how to do that, so if I can remember to link that in the description, I'll do that. But basically, it's in the manual if you know how to do it. But I personally never use that feature because you can't tell if it's actually recording. And I've had that happen a few times, and I gave up on this feature because it doesn't give you any kind of indication in your goggles that you're actually recording. You'll have to go look at the camera and see that the little red light's blinking, and that means it's recording. But then you might as well, since you're basically right there, you might as well just press the button and you know for sure it's recording. So for me, not a very important feature. It's kind of nice that they added it for some of you that are trusted, but I don't, and I don't use it. The SD card is under here like in the original, and you do need a U3 card because the videos are recorded in 60 megabits. For 4K and for 2.7K, etc. If you use a cheap card, you will have problems where either recordings are corrupted or they don't record at all, and you're wondering why isn't it recording. That's a pretty common newbie issue you see on Facebook. They just use a cheap SD card and discover that their problems are because they did not use a proper SD card for recording. So get a U3, obviously not a clone or one of those like knockoffs. You want a genuine one like a SanDisk, something like that. These come with, again, ND filters. So this is just a standard lens cover protector. It's a much bigger lens now. And they did send along some ND filters. So you got a ND8, a 16, and a 32. And they are written here on the... So I guess the Thumb only came with an ND... I think this is an ND16 and didn't come with anything else. So people were disappointed with that. But these were included. I'm pretty sure that these will not be included. They'll be an extra cost. So I would estimate, they didn't tell me how much it was going to be, but I would estimate probably $5 each, maybe more. Sometimes any filters can cost more. So these are available if you want to use them. Obviously, you want to use them to get better motion blur in your video. The mount for this is included. So obviously it goes like this. I didn't use it because this, well, it's a little hard to get the camera in. It's sort of super tight. Couldn't get it in there. And then it's got like this lip here that holds the camera in place. So I just created my own like this. And this will, the mount point here will fit on the Flex 25. That'll work on that and probably will work on some other quads as well, because that's the mount patterns. It's got different holes, so you can probably adapt it to different quads if you want to use this mount. But I found it to be pretty hard to get the camera in. I think they need to make this a little bit wider. But I just made my own mount. If you guys, if anyone wants it, let me know that it's available for purchase. And I did put a little bit of vibration dampening in there because this, I think it uses the same gyro, and so it is somewhat sensitive to vibrations, which can affect the gyro flow results. So I had the same issues with this one. Even with this setup here, I did get still a little bit of vibration, so I may need to make some modifications to this mount or make a different one. Yeah, It's sensitive to the vibrations and also the tune of your quad. So that's something to be aware of in terms of this, how this compares to some other gyroflow budget cameras out there, which I'll talk about the Firefly X-Lite 2. I'm sure that's the main question people are going to be asking about. Yeah, so obviously you get this little cable for the back. There's no battery in this, of course. If you're like, oh, I want a camera with a battery in it, duh. Well, get the Insta360 Go 2 that has a battery. You get a USB, micro USB cable. You can use that to take the files off of there. So you just plug that into your computer, and it shows up as a USB drive. Of course, you can take the card out, but it's a hassle to constantly take this in and out. And then if you plug it into your computer via USB and you press the power button or the record button, it will turn into a webcam. It'll show up as a webcam on a Windows PC. I don't know what happens on a Mac. Okay, so in terms of how much it weighs, it is about 16.5 grams. I think they marketed it as 16 grams. And the original thumb is 10 grams. All right, so the length here is about 52 millimeters, 53 millimeters. And then the height is about 20 millimeters. And then this narrow part here is about 13 millimeters. And then the front of the lens to the back is about 25 millimeters. So as you can see, I flew it on the Flex 25, which comes with these cables. They can plug into the back here. I think there's one that has an extra 2 pins for the RX and the TX. I was kind of wondering what that was for, and now it's been revealed it's for this, obviously. So if you want like a non-soldering solution, you can just use that plug there and plug it into here with the mount, and then you're off and running. Good to go. It provides that 5 volt power out to the camera. Okay, so in order to change the settings on the camera, you have to get the RunCam app. And now they have the RunCam Thumb Pro in here. Obviously, they have other cameras like the Orange. It uses the QR codes like the RunCam 5 Orange, so which is different from the original Thumb, which used like a text file to change the settings. So this is actually, I think, better. So you go into here, select your camera, select QR code configurator, and then here you can change your settings. So like you want high quality video, of course this is basically the bit rate. High is going to be 60 megabytes. I think medium is like 40 and low is like 20, I believe. But yeah, there's kind of no point in, you might as well just go for high bit rate unless you can't afford a nice SD card and you have to record at a low bit rate. Then yeah, obviously then go down to low to work with those cheaper SD cards. But there's kind of no point in doing that for this camera. You might as well go high. And of course you can set your other settings here, shutter, ISO, etc. Very similar to the RunCam 5 Orange. And here you can set the resolution. Mine out of the box came set to 2.7K 60, but you can of course select 4K 30, 1440p 60, 1080, 120, and 1080 60. These are all the available resolutions, but obviously I did all the testing on the 4K, which is what we're actually mostly interested in. So you go in here and then you hit apply, get your QR code, and then basically I'll show you here. Basically power on the camera, and then you double click to turn the QR code mode on, and the light will turn green. I'll show you that here. Okay, so you power on the camera, then you double click on the record button, light will turn green. So then you just point it at your phone here, and the light will turn red, which means it's accepted the settings and you're off and running. Okay, so a few notes about the image quality and the field of view. So they're saying about 150 degrees field of view, but when you use gyroflow, it's going to crop in on the field of view a little bit. It's not a lot, maybe about 5 degrees, 10 degrees at the most. So realistically, with gyroflow stabilized video, you're looking at about 140, 145 degrees field of view. Do note that this is a 16:9 sensor, not a 4:3 sensor. So for those of you that are wondering, how does this compare to the Firefly X-Lite 2, which I did a video a while back? This one has a 4:3 sensor, so you can get 4000 by 3000 video at 30 frames per second, and then of course stabilize it with gyroflow. So you get in the end result is a larger field of view compared to the Thumb Pro. However, be aware that this Firefly X-Lite 2 is around 150 to 160. The Thumb Pro is currently it's going to be priced at $90 or $89.99. so significantly cheaper. So if you're not super worried about field of view, and you're okay with it being cropped in a little bit, then yeah, this is obviously good value. The other thing is on the bit rate. On the Thumb Pro, the video is 60 megabits max at 30 frames per second. On the Firefly X Lite 2, you get the 4K 4:3 video, 4000 by 3000 resolution at 100 megabits per second. So you have more bitrate to work with, so it does look a little bit better in terms of the image quality. So that's something else to be aware of. But again, it's, you know, what is that, $60 more in terms of the cost. So, you know, go back and look at that video and compare that video quality to this one, and you can, you know, judge for yourself if you think that extra $60 is worth it or not. Plus, that camera weighs a lot more than this one. That one weighs about 30 grams. This one weighs about half, about 16 grams. Now, in terms of the settings and everything, like I just basically ran this on stock settings, but I think you probably want to reduce the sharpness setting to low. I think it's defaulted to medium. It's a little bit over sharpened in my opinion, but it's pretty standard for RunCam. Their color science is pretty good, so I would leave the saturation alone. The flat color profile doesn't really give you any more dynamic range, so I just use the standard color profile, and that seems fine. And their color science seems okay to me. Yeah, it's a little, in some situations, the white balance tends to skew towards like the reds a little bit, you know, depending upon the lighting situation. Again, that's very subjective. You may or may not be bothered by that, but that's something I noticed that's pretty common with a lot of RunCam cameras. Now, of course, for the gyroflow stuff, it is saving a gyroflow GCSV file. So it's like, it basically has all the metadata in there, so it knows what it needs to, in terms of like the IMU orientation. So you actually don't need to set anything. Pretty much the only thing I turned on was the low pass filter. Here are my gyroflow settings if you want to copy them. But basically, if you load in the GCSV file, it will load in all these settings except for the low pass filter, which I can recommend because there's, you know, you want to clean up those vibrations a little bit. But even there, you know, I just left it at the default 50 hertz. You might want to go a little bit more. I did get still some jitters even with my custom mount and everything. You can see some jitters here and there, but obviously the gyroflow is working pretty good. You get a nice smooth video where you don't see the little micro jitters. So for the lens profile, I did create my own lens profile because there wasn't one sent to me by RunCam. I'm pretty sure that they've uploaded one to the ExpressLRS database, so probably by the time you watch this video, it'll be in there. So when you go and search for the Thumb Pro, it should pop up. But I've also uploaded mine to the database, so that'll probably pop up as well. But if you can't find it, let me know in the comments, and I'll upload it somewhere you can download it, just in case it hasn't been uploaded to the gyroflow database yet. Anyway, that's going to do it for this video. If you have any questions, let me know, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one.